Here's how you get to know someone properly. Through the big 3 signs that they have in their chart. The 3 big signs include the sun, the moon, and the rising sign. And I'm not saying the big 3 signs are only the ones that you need to get to know someone deeply, but from knowing these 3, you can get a really good idea about the person that you're dealing with, and I'll explain how. Now, we all know, let's put the name here. So this is the sun, moon, and rising, or the ascendant. Okay? Now, the sun, we all know, is the father. And the moon is the mother. And the rising is basically your first house. And with the father figure, it is the masculine. The mother is the feminine. Bear with me because I'm going somewhere with this. And the first house of the rising is the impression. Let's call it that, impression, for the sake of the video, okay? You can call it a lot of things. Also, the father, the masculine, is, let's use another color. The sun can also be the practical aspect of someone. So practical. And the moon is the emotional. This can also be mental. So the moon is the emotional. And the rising can be the 3D. Okay? What people see, the physical. Let's call it the physical. If someone has sun in Leo and moon in, let's say, Scorpio, and rising in, let's say, Capricorn, how we get to know someone is not just through the sun sign. And this is where a lot of people get frustrated because they get judged on their sun sign. And you have a lot of people that don't even identify with the sun sign. And that's okay, because they are either operating from their moon sign or they are operating from their rising sign. And how that works, people make that choice of operating from different aspects of their being. The sun is masculine, the father, the mental, the practical. The moon is the mother, feminine, emotional. And the rising is the first house impression, the 3D, the physical. So some people like to operate from their masculine, and you will see them aligning their energy with the Leo energy. And some like to be in their feminine, which they will then portray as Scorpio traits instead of their sun sign. And some, what I like to call fake as fuck, could operate as a Capricorn because that is their shallow side. That is the impression that they have, that they give, and then therefore operate from. And that is a choice. We all have a choice in operating from which aspect we see fit. But most people you will find is that they use the signs, or they use the energy of these signs that they have the sun and moon and rising in, depending on the situation they have at hand. So basically, if I am in an emotional situation, I would be operating from my Scorpio. And that these are not my signs. I'm just giving it as an example, okay? So let's just say I am Scorpio moon. If I am in an emotional situation, I use my Scorpio, meaning I am emotional at that stage. If I am in my mental, practical, masculine, I will be operating from the Leo energy. If I am trying to make an impression of some sort, I will be using the Capricorn characteristics to portray that image. So when you get to know someone, you need to focus on which side they operate from. This will tell you a lot about the person. Like, for example, if you have an emotional situation, but they act from their Leo sign, meaning they are not very emotional, they are practical, they like to be practical. If you have the same situation, emotional situation, but they betray the Capricorn energy, you know this person is a shallow person. You know this person doesn't like to go deep. You know this person has their guard up. So these things will indicate how this person behaves when they come across certain situations. So if you keep an eye on these things, if you know their big three, and you keep an eye on how they deal with each situation and which sign they use to operate from regarding the situation, you will get to know them better. If you are dealing with a Leo and you think, oh, I better look up how Leos like to fall in love or how Leos like to deal with emotions. No. Unless they have the Leo in their moon sign, that's their emotional, that's how they operate. If you have a Leo moon, that's a different story. Yes, you can look up how Leo deals with emotions, but if they have Leo sun, there's no point looking up their emotions because that's not how they operate from their emotional state. They will use the Scorpio. Or what they'll do is they will use their mental and practical instead of their emotional. So just keep an eye on what they do when it comes to certain situations. If you know the big three of theirs, keep an eye on what or which sign they operate from, depending on the situation they're in. So from the Zodiac traits, you can tell how someone deals with situations based on what they have. You'll know if they are the emotional type or the logical type. If they deal with an emotional situation and they use Leo, their Leo sign instead of the Scorpio, you know that this person is practical. If they are emotional when they are presented with a practical situation, then you know they're using their emotions instead of their mental state. to think clearly. So you know that this person is unstable because they are using an emotional state of theirs instead of their logical. And if you want to know if someone is fake as fuck or shallow, you will see that this person operates from their rising sign, like whatever situation they are given. So if you see this person acting like a Capricorn, for example, when there is an emotional situation, you know that this person is surface based. They don't go deep. So it doesn't mean that the Capricorn is surface deep, right? It means that it is a clue for you to get to know this person and how they operate from these places. So you basically get to know someone through knowing which traits they use to deal with a situation. And the sun, like I said, is the base. So imagine this is the situation. And they deal with these traits. So you know this person is emotional when in the situations that they need to use their mental. But if they use this when it's in an emotional situation, you know that they are practical, they don't like to go emotional. But when they use this when it's an emotional or a practical situation, you know this person is a fake, or you know that this person is not deep. They are surface-based person. I hope it makes sense, because this is something that I've recently understood, and I've recently started seeing people not through their sun sign, but through their big threes. How do they act when in a certain situation, and which traits do they use to deal with that situation? And through that understanding, you will get to know someone better. Okay? Through that understanding, you will understand how this person deals with the situation and if it's compatible with you. Don't just look the sun sign to see if you are compatible. Look how they use their sun sign in certain situations. Look how they use their moon sign in certain situations. And look how they use the rising sign in certain situations. That's how you know that you are compatible through the three. Through the big three. Now, the big three is basically how you get to know someone on a deeper level, but it's not the deepest. If you want to get to know someone really deeply, keep an eye on their Venus sign, on their Mars sign, or their Mercury sign, because these will have an effect on communication, on obstacles, resolution, and love language. These, though, are like the main three signs that you should be focusing on if you want to get to know someone beyond the surface. And I say beyond the surface, I mean the sun sign, because most people associate persons' traits depending on their sun sign, and that's where we go wrong. We can judge a book by its cover, yes, but when you use the sun sign alone to judge someone, you are missing out, because you're only looking from an egotistic, logical, practical aspect of their life, and you're not going deeper than that, which is the tip of the iceberg.